Hey friends, it's Rosalind. Welcome back to our gardens and our tiny farm. The past few weeks we've been talking about and working on creating a cottage tea style garden. And last week I shared what I mean about a cottage tea style garden is just a garden that is overflowing with color from spring through fall with the biggest, ruffliest, kind of old-fashioned blooms. And we've also been working on just adding in some vintage touches along with that. But this week, I'm just going to bring you along as we start some annual planting in the containers right in front of the greenhouse. And we are also going to be painting some sweet vintage lamps that I picked up at the thrift store last year already. And I had just been saving them for a certain spot. I wasn't really totally sure where I want them, but we are going to get them painted and set them in front of the greenhouse as well. And then we are going to be working on some structure around the garden. I have been trying to teach myself to add in structure before I go in with plants in the garden. I have this kind of bad habit of picking up beautiful plants at the garden center and then bringing it home, planting it, and then later I'm like, oh my goodness, I should have added this bit of structure in before planting. So I'm just trying to teach myself to, like I said, go in with structure before planting. First thing we're going to be working on is with this jasmine. So I think it was 2 weeks ago when we together picked up this plant at the garden center, finally got it potted up. And it's just going to stay in the greenhouse because jasmine is not hardy in our growing zone 5B/6A here in northern Indiana. So I was hoping that we could just have it growing here in the greenhouse because it can handle down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and I really don't see our greenhouse getting colder than that. So we are going to take off the support and add in the cutest, or I think it's very cute, it's a plant support that I found on Amazon. We're just going to place it here in the planter, and hopefully it can just scramble right up that plant support and grow beautifully here in the greenhouse. We place the jasmine back here in this corner. So if somebody sits out here in these chairs to have coffee or tea, they can smell the jasmine. Oh, I wish I could share a scratch and sniff through the screen. This jasmine smells absolutely amazing, and this plant is, still a baby plant. But what do you guys think about the obelisk? I love the bird that's sitting on top of it. And if we slowly turn this way, there is still a lot of seedlings and plants that still need to go out into the garden, but it's just been too cold here in northern Indiana. Like, we had frost this week. Currently it's 52 degrees Fahrenheit outside. I think it's almost 75 degrees here in the greenhouse. But I wanted to show you these willows that we propagated together a couple weeks ago. They are leafing out, and if I tug on them, they don't come out, which means they're rooting. And I believe, I don't know if the camera picks it up, but there is some roots coming out of the bottom, which is super exciting. Just a little peek to see what the jasmine plant is looking like from the outside. Obviously, it's not tall enough yet to see the green, but I think in another month or two, we should be able to see some green growing up here. It'll be very pretty. And probably in another month as well, we'll have to put up some shade cloth so the plants don't suffer inside the greenhouse. But let's get these sweet lamps painted. Right here in front of the greenhouse, we are a little wind protected, so hopefully it'll help the spray paint from not blowing all over the place. Brought a little protector out to have on the gravel as we paint these lamps. These lamps do have quite a bit of rust on them. So the first thing that we're going to apply is a rust preventive. I had used the same thing on my grandma's wind chimes. since those are metal as well, and it worked amazing. A coat of that, and then we are going to do a coat of the fast drying indoor outdoor. It's just a white flat paint, and it's made for wood, weaker metal. So we're going to try it out, see if it works. I had kind of struggled with the idea of whether to paint the lamps black or if they should be painted white, since they'll be sitting up against the greenhouse. But then I thought, with the doors being brown and our planters being brown, I was afraid that, painting these black would be too much. So we're going to start out with painting them white. And then if we decide that it's too much white, then we can always switch it to black or even another color of our choice. Oh my goodness, I love these lamps. They look so much better now that they're painted. We used up both cans of paint, but now that they're white, I'm wondering if we should have gone with black. I would love to hear what you guys think, because I'm thinking ahead to Christmas and winter when we decorate them in front of the greenhouse. Like, would they look better black or white? Once these lamps are completely dry, we're going to set them where they will go, and then we are going to start with some planting. It is a new day, friends, and it is time to get some things planted into these containers in front of the greenhouse. We have some gorgeous things that I'll be sharing with you in just a second. This morning, we had another light frost, but according to the 10-day forecast, we are no longer expecting frost. So it is officially go time for all the annual planting. So we're going to remove some or all of the bulbs. There's daffodils and tulip bulbs in here, and I'll plant those around the garden later. And we'll top off these planters with fresh soil and get them planted with these gorgeous things. I had shared a lot of these with you, I think it was 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about the summer annuals that we're going to be planting, but we have some of antique salmon geraniums with these double blooms, and I thought they would go perfectly in a cottage tea style garden. We have quite a few of the double vintage coral super bells. I think we're going to do like 3 of these in each planter. I had shared that we planted these last year in the garden shed window boxes. They were absolutely stunning. Then we're also going to have some of the diamond frost euphorbia, some Rabina, or is it lantana? Sorry, I told you wrong. It's lantana. And then we're going to do the Gara as a wispy centerpiece. So let's get these planters emptied and fill them up with gorgeous plants. And then we're also going to do our lamps somewhere in front of the greenhouse. They have been drying all night, so I think they're looking a lot better than they did. Well, friends, it is yet another new day, and it's also a windy day. But before we go and look at all the things we worked on together this week, I thought we could plant up this basket together. I had planned on having pansies in here earlier this spring, but never got around to it. So this morning we just put in cocoa liner, kind of split two cocoa liners in half and put them together so they fit in this basket, filled it with soil, and now we're just going to plant alyssum in it. So we'll hopefully have just like a scent that greets us as we walk into the garden. We're also going to be planting alyssum in this border along the pathway. So it'll kind of tie it all in together. And these window boxes, will eventually have the vintage coral double super bells planted in them. But for now, we're still enjoying the pansies. I love pansies so much, so I don't really want to get rid of them just yet, especially with the cooler spring that we've had. But let's get this planted and go look at all the things we worked on together this week. I had picked up this basket at the thrift store this past winter, but I believe the tag had said it originally came from Hobby Lobby. So we are going to be planting alyssum in here to tie it in with the border, and then the vintage coral super bells that will be planted in the window boxes will tie it in with the planters that are in front of the greenhouse. We're also going to be planting up the planter in front of the chicken coop with the double coral vintage super bells. We are walking into the pathway. Oh my goodness. I love the touch of whimsy that this basket brought to the little garden tool shed. Now, Harley has been working on this picket fence. We had picked up these panels on Facebook Marketplace, and he has just been reworking it, like reworking the fence panels completely as he's been putting them up because they were kind of in disrepair. But I think we're going to get the boys to, it will be their summer project, to get these panels painted. And Harley's just going to continue filling in the borders, or I should say behind the borders, with the fence panels. Last week we had planted this storm-proof incredible hydrangea into the border. Found another one to match it. So we'll have two hydrangeas in here, and the iris that we planted together last week has opened up and it smells amazing. Wish I could share his scratch and sniff with you guys. In just a second, we're going to head back to the garden house to check out the planters and the lamps that we put together back there. So this crabapple tree will have to be limbed up a little bit, as you can see, because of the fence. And this is how far Harley got with the picket fence in front of the cut flower garden. Picked up a Josephine clematis to have growing on this section of the panels. Picked this up as a Mother's Day gift for myself. I mean, aren't those blooms gorgeous? And we have another one similar to this, except its flowers are more creamy. And after Harley has this section completed of fencing, then we'll plant that clematis over here. This is the little pathway that we were working on together yesterday. Some of the fence panels fell over. So that's what you're seeing there. But this is how far we got. Whoops. So eventually, and I'll talk more about this next week because we are going to do a garden tour. But we are completely redoing this area. Since we have our garden house back here, I want it to look completely different. Usually we just have rows of cut flowers and vegetables growing here, but I want to redo that. So we will have a pathway that will eventually go up to there. Now we are walking into the garden right in front of the greenhouse. This is the arbor that Harley put up last week. It's still looking good. Our clematis that we planted on here. And isn't it looking so much better with a little bit of color back here? Placed one of the antique geraniums right here by the arbor. This is the flower bed that we had been working on. I think it was 2 weeks ago when we were working on this flower bed. So that'll be exciting once the gladiolas and things start blooming in here. But this is the planters we put together. Oh, I love the color that they're bringing back here, and it'll be so much fun to see these in about another month. They are going to be completely filled in, but I would love to hear what you guys would place in these lamps, because I love to have like solar lighting in here, but I'm not sure what kind of solar lighting to use so that it looks good or that it lights up every night, or should we just plant some succulents in there? What would you guys do? So ended up adding in a little licorice plant to both of these pots to kind of accent. Those two colors are so pretty together. So this will just kind of accent everything and spill over the edges. And the super bells will spill over the edges as well. The verbena and the gara will kind of be our thriller. The diamond frost euphorbia will kind of be our little filler. And then back here, we have our other pot of geraniums. This is what it looks like when you walk in from the opposite direction. They still have quite a bit of my winter sown plants that need to get over into the flower borders. There's some hollyhocks and things that I want to plant up against the white picket fence. But next week, as we do our garden tour, I'll be sharing more of the plans for this garden space as well, because hopefully by this fall we'll have everything filled in and it'll just look beautiful. I don't have a garden book to share with you guys this week, but I did pick up this Victoria magazine at the antique store. I think it was like a month ago, and it's from 1994. It has like beautiful pictures in it, just filled with inspiration. There's just like all kinds of garden inspiration. So don't forget to check out your local thrift store and antique stores for gardening magazines and garden books, because they usually are like a fraction of the cost that new books are. Well, friends, I hope it's inspired you to just work together in the garden this week, adding touches of whimsy and adding kind of vintage style flowers, thrifted items to the garden. I would love to hear what you are currently working on in your own gardens. But I will see you right back here real soon to just walk through the gardens and look at all the peonies, the iris, and some of the other late spring bloomers that are ready to burst into bloom here on our tiny flower farm. Have an amazing week, and I will see you right back here real soon. Bye.